What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. It's your boy, Coach A, tuned in to Impact Live. Beautiful, beautiful Sunday in Florida. We're getting spoiled out here. Normally it's cooking, but we've been having a nice breeze. What you do today is Sunday. Let me share it a couple of times before I get into what we talked about. We want to talk about how you spending your Sundays. Is anybody still going to church out there? Do you still believe? Yes, sir. Oh, here, let me send you an email out, Jay. Happy Sunday. Chilling today. Trying to see what you're doing today on Sunday. Are you going to the beach? You cooking? Having a cookout? Did you go to church today? How you spending your Sundays? I know if Facebook like to flag and cut the music out, but I'm playing it now. So go ahead and drop your email if you want to chime in. I want to hear from you. I want to know if you still going to church on Sundays. Do you still get your family up to go to church on Sundays right now? Or do you tune in live? Are you tuning in live for church service? I know some services still going live. They haven't fully opened yet. We want to get into it. We want to get into the importance, how important it is. How is church important? Is it important? I want to hear from you. If you happen to catch this message, go ahead and leave a comment. We're going live here. Church is one of the biggest, I would say, one of the biggest and major impacts in a person's life is where they go to church at. And so naturally it's just good to talk about it and get different perspectives on church. We're not really focused on a particular type of religion. We just want to know the church. Are you going to church? Impact. You see it? I sent it to your J Strong email, Jimmy. Let me go ahead and send it to this one. So yeah, again, we're talking about church. Did you go? Are you still going? Is church still relevant today? It's Sunday, one of the major days that, most people go to church. Did you go? Is it important to you? Or did you check it out online? Or is church just a building to you? That's what we want to find out. We're going to talk about that today. Impact Live. Church is one of the major impacts in a person's life. Their religion, where they worship at, has a huge impact on you. So that's why we want to talk about it. Get your perspective, my personal perspective. I got my brother Jimmy coming in. Let me go ahead and send him another invite so he can come join me. Give me a second. If you want to chime in, drop your email. All you got to do is pull the link up. We want to hear from you for sure. Did you go to church today? You can even drop the name of your church. Give your church a shout out. I did cover some points about the importance of, again, it's just my perspective, the importance of church. Why it's important to be connected with a church. There is some good. I know some people don't like it. They feel like, do you feel like all the people in the church is fake? I've heard that several times. There you go.
Hey man,
Yeah, man, what's
what's
up?
up?
Keep, she's like, where my email at, man? You just getting a little forceful, man.
Hey, I need to
Supposed
learn
to
to
be,
stop that because
yeah, it's church Sunday,
you know,
man. You're supposed to be nice. Say
Brent.
please and thank you.
Yeah, that's what Brandon and Nate and them be telling. They be like, Jimmy, like you don't got to talk to us like that. I'm like, what you mean? I'm just asking you a question. They're like, no, you're not.
Nah, I'm just messing with you though. It's all good. So what's up, man?
Man, not much, man. Just got back to the house. Just you talking about church? Just left church. Had some church
Yeah.
today.
Oh yeah. You wanted to
Yes.
select. You wanted to select few.
Hey, man, I'm the chosen one, man.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. You the chosen one. So I gotta. Well, we need a special card or something, huh?
Man, sure do. Hey, real quick though, I just want to let you know. You know them cards that we got for MPACT. I
Yeah.
forgot to tell you. Like my daughters, every time they come and I send them back, they ask for cards and they say they give them out to they little friends at school. I'm like, that's so cute.
It is.
That put a smile on my face, boy.
Yeah. It's gonna be real cute when somebody hit you up
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, I need you to help me."
Yeah.
So today we're talking about church, man. Church, religion. Is it relevant today? Is it relevant today? You know, um, stuff like that. What importance does it have?
Okay.
So I want to get into all of. I want to get into prayer, get into prayer, faith, a lot of that stuff too, because I want to help people understand. A lot of people really don't understand. They say they understand, and they listen. They've been going for. I know people that's been going to church for years and years and years, and I just feel like they don't even understand.
Yeah. That'll be good. That one would be good to get into with you. I think that one we'll have and a difference of opinion on that. We're gonna see.
Oh
We
yeah,
might agree. We might agree, but I think
yeah,
that'd be an interesting conversation right there.
exactly.
All right.
So obviously, go ahead, go ahead.
You say the first question was, is church important, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's it's not necessarily no order, but we're gonna get into it all. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
is what's your perspective? I mean, obviously you just came from church, so I know you think that church is important. So give me some reasons why
Well, I know. I think I really believe everybody differs. I
it
believe in this
does.
thing we got called life. I heard you say this too. Like it really depends on a person. Some things work for you, might not work for me, might not work
Hmm.
for somebody else, but it might work for the third person down the road. You know, but for me, church is important to me. To me, like I look at it like this too, like college and school and things. I can't
Yeah,
do that stuff online. I know people that they do it online and they get all A's. Me, I need to have that human and human experience,
interaction. Yeah,
interaction to talk to somebody, to to hug, to dap somebody up, to have that face to face conversation with somebody. Um,
but what
and
about just church? Period. Providing that you're there, what's that importance? Not necessarily that you can't. If it's important for you to go to the building or do it online, but the importance of church. Period.
I think church is very important. I think so. We're not talking about everybody in the building anymore. We're just talking about
Yeah, we
church in
talking about
general.
church. Yeah, religion, church,
Okay.
religion, all that stuff.
All right. So to me, church really is important because it's faith and hope. I think those are one of the some of the most powerful things in the world. It's like that motivation, that drive that if you allow it to fuel you, it'll fuel you.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's better for hope to fuel you than you talking about some your haters and stuff like that. But
Right.
I think it gives you that fuel, that motivation. It kind of like freshens up your life. Like when you are feeling down or feeling disappointed or something, you can look to God or whatever belief that you have to get that fuel from. Be like, okay, the person that I look to or the entity that I look to, like for me, is God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
You just had to
He
make that point.
listen, I got to make that clip for everybody that's listening. Like for me, I look at like, okay, I when I read the Bible and I read the scriptures, all of us as a community is a church without a building,
Okay,
and yeah,
so let me ask you this. So if you, so those are the factors for you, right?
yes.
But if you got somebody out there that hasn't been to church, or they want to know, or that's not going to church now, how would you convince them that church is important?
How would I? That is a good question. How would
See,
I get
that's
somebody
very
to church?
important because a lot of times that's what, what church folk or Christians, whatever denomination you claim, we claim to be, we have to convince people that church is important in order for people to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And
How
so,
would that is a really good question. I don't think I've ever thought
yeah.
about that question.
Yeah. Well, and all the things that you said is true. I feel the same way about church, as far as being able to go, and stuff. But I come up with some points, like the top, to me, I just have like the top 4 points, of why church is important. Number one, community of people and support. Huh? What about that? Like, how much better is it going through this thing, which you mentioned, this thing called life, if you have people around you that can support you in different type of
That
environments or situations that you're going through,
Yeah, and I
right?
call it accountability. Same thing.
Exactly.
I call it accountability. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that's great. Hmm?
not just accountability. Like for instance, if your house caught on fire and your house burned down, or
Oh,
and I'm just putting stuff out there, different things that happen to people. You have a group of people that you're used to talking to and hanging with that can help support you. Maybe somebody
yeah.
can,
Okay.
it'll make that situation, as bad as it is, it'll make that situation better when you go through it with people. Obviously, we have family members that we can, that help us too, but it's also a lot of times family members, are either they're overextended or they're busy or they can't get there. So it's always good to have that overflow, which is your church family. And some people, the church family is priority. You go to your church family first because family members might turn you away.
Yeah.
Like, I
No,
can't help you,
agreed.
bruh.
I think that's a great and amazing point. And to my instance, just
Hmm.
like to what you said in my life, I know this church family. I they know me better than some of my real family.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
exactly. So, if things, like I know that different, and it depends on the church. It depends on the church because I know that some churches are, like if women have babies, right, that they'll get together and not only make sure that they're taken care of, but like cook meals for them and just different stuff like that when you're going through things. These are very important. That's why it's important to have that. Obviously, we're talking about church is important, you know. And so if you have those people that you can turn to and that can help you in time of need and it makes life that much easier. And that's how I feel, and that's what I get, being able to not just talk to people. And I'm not talking about just having somebody to talk to. I'm talking about having somebody that's going to, get their hands dirty, that's going to going there and like you, like what I'm saying, you're gonna strap up, and if we gotta move a couch or we gotta move a chair or we gotta, what I'm
Yep.
saying, we're gonna get it done. You see what I'm
Of
saying?
course, of course.
So next point I got, I want, and again, I'm gonna let you expound on this a little bit too, is learning social skills, right? Not just for you, right, but for your kids as well. Talk a little
Yes.
bit about that, learning social skills.
Oh man. Well, number one, first off, social skills are very much needed in every aspect of life. But
Yes.
church for, and everybody, I'm just speaking off of personal experience. Uh, church has been great for me. Other than college, church was great for me because I've had leaders who put me in situations where I needed to speak in front of people, and if you really know me, I don't want to. I have no desire to speak in front of anybody. I'm cool with doing the stuff behind the scenes. Um, but just to give you that challenge and to say like, hey, we want you. We see you have the knowledge. We see you got this. We see you got that. We want you to say this. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. And and maybe oh, they put you in front of a different crowd or a different group, like what Adrian does. We have different brothers. And Adrian goes out to the detention camps, juvenile camps, detention centers, and it puts you in
Yeah.
front of a different crowd, gives you that different, what's the word I'm looking for?
It
Um,
takes you out your comfort zone for
Takes you
sure.
out your comfort zone. Yes, exactly. Yes. So
So
I think
not
it's
only,
good to push you.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It teach you, and those are skills that you need in life, and it helps the kids. Because let's be honest, we're not gonna always get along with everything our church members and our brothers and sisters say, or what I'm saying, or what they believe. And so, how important is that to be able to learn how to deal with disagreements and to teach your kids how to deal with disagreements? And I feel like church is a training ground for that because it's a community and you have different mindsets, you have different beliefs within there. And so it just helps train you when it comes to the real world and how to deal with stuff if it don't go your way or if people don't always agree with you. Teach you how
Mhm.
to get along so you can go along.
That's a good way to put it.
So exactly. So let me drop another one I got. How about this? Strengthens your belief and your faith.
Oh yeah, of course. Um, Because listen, even though me and Asia and we both go to the same church, um,
Hmm.
and everybody, even though we serve the same God.
Yeah, Jimmy just in the elite. Jimmy's in the elite. He's in the upper room. I
Oh,
haven't made it to the upper room yet.
here we go with the with the job. Listen, I'm just an everyday average guy, man.
Yeah, I haven't got my upper room card yet, but I'm still working
In
on
the upper room. Oh, oh, listen, we both go to the same church, and listen, no matter what church you go to, everybody does not believe in the same thing. We might believe in the same God and things, but it's different little small nuances that everybody doesn't believe in. And
it. Right.
I just think being around people and having those conversations with people and getting different people's perspectives, I think that strengthens you in a different kind of way. Even though some
Hmm.
people don't know how to do that, but
Right.
I think
Right.
it'll be a great learn character trait
Hmm.
if that
Absolutely.
answers that for
Yeah.
you.
Well, it's this one. That's not really a question. You're just
Oh, okay.
expounding on what I'm saying. I was, giving some points about the importance of church. Strengthening your belief and faith system. And so, naturally, we've learned, from reading that faith comes by hearing. And
Hmm.
so hearing, obviously by the word of God. And so you can substitute the word of God with the truth. So when you hear the truth, it'll strengthen your faith. And
Yeah.
so if you got with a group of people and y'all believe the same thing and they keep reminding you these things, eventually it's going to sink in. And when it sink in is when it becomes faith. And so I feel like that's important and we can get into faith a little bit. I think faith is one of the most confusing or misunderstood. I believe
Misunderstood.
is one of the most misunderstood things that religious or Christian or just people period when it comes to saying that they have faith. And I have a simplified version that from my personal perspective, I believe faith is your positive attitude towards any situation. And that's I don't, to me, it can't get no simpler to that. Like whatever the situation is, whatever you thinking about or going through, if you take the positive attitude towards it, then you're exercising your faith.
Hmm.
So, but but not only that, faith, I believe it lives inside of our subconscious, the inner person, as opposed to the conscious portion of us. So think about that for a moment. That most people, they walk around because you even read it in the Bible where they said you say you have faith, I say I have works, right? And so the reason that his faith was substituted with works is because he didn't have to talk about it. There's nothing for him to say. His faith is evident in what he's doing.
Hmm.
And so that's the misconception, is that people just feel like they have to say they have faith or they talk about faith in order to have faith, and that's a portion of it. But faith is manifested in your works. It's the obvious actions that you're taking, so to speak.
I find it interesting you say that because I had this conversation. When I was in Miami, I love Miami because I met so many different people,
Mm,
and I spoke to many Muslims and Rastafarians and things like
yeah.
that. And we a couple of times we talked about faith, and they'd be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, Christians just believe. Faith is just I believe, believe, believe." I was like, "Well, actually,
Yeah.
I tell them I did research. I said if you really go and look up the word faith in Hebrew, is really it's an action word.
Yes.
It's trust. It's Hebrew doesn't have the word faith. It's actually trust, and it's an action word. It's something that you do. It's not
Yeah.
something that you just think on and stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like that's the biggest misconception, that people, because people say they have faith, but their actions prove otherwise. So it's so deep. It's simple,
Simple.
it's very simple, but yet it's so deep. It's so simple and deep at the same time. I don't even know if that's possible, but it is to me.
It's possible.
Because
It's
the reason
possible.
I say that, no, the reason I say that is because it's your actions.
Yeah.
It's your
Action.
actions.
Yeah.
Your actions is going to show what you believe in, and ultimately, the purpose of faith is for it to turn into your belief. Once
Mhm.
faith gets to the point where it becomes belief, then it's autopilot. It's automatic. You know what I'm saying? Like when we go to drive, we on autopilot. We know we can drive. We're not worried about driving. We just get the keys, start the vehicle, and we take off. We out of there. And so that's what has to happen. And so I feel like that people very rarely let their faith or whatever it is that they're asking for, whatever they want to do, that particular faith, they very rarely let it get to the belief point. And that's where I think the misconception is. They just feel like they can say they have faith, and they, equate going to church with having faith, or reading the Bible with having faith. And that's not actually it. You have to actually, it has to become what you believe,
Part of you.
part of you. There you go, part of you. And so that's a huge misconception, because people don't. How do you get to that point? You got to understand. Honestly, you have to understand your body, your mind, and how it works in order for you to let things get to that belief point. Think about that. Like, how do you get it to where it becomes belief?
It's habits, practice it, right?
Yes,
Make it because
exactly.
then when you practice, since it's like basketball, you practice this stuff. You get to the point that you don't even think about it. You just do it because it's you. It's there.
Yes. So, but how long should it take? how long does that take, like, before it get to that point?
Now, see, I may differ on you on this, but
Mm-hmm.
I know. Don't they say it take like 60 days to break or to form a new habit? Isn't that what they say?
No, I don't think it's quite 60 days. I
Oh,
think it's less than that. I think it might be like 2 to 3 weeks.
okay. I'm about to say, really, this is another thing I really believe is based on the person.
Yeah.
I feel like as soon as you make it up in your mind and in your heart, like, all right, I'm want to do something do new. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It could be at that instant. Once you make up your mind, that's when things change. And of course, you got to practice it, but that's the starting point. You got to have that made up mind.
Right, but that's the thing, that what's a made up mind. See, I agree with you once you make up your mind, because you can't make any type of changes, or you're not going to take any type of action until your mind is connected, meaning your mind is in agreement with what you're going to do,
Yes.
right? But just because your mind is made up, like you might make your mind up that I'm going swimming today. I'm jumping off the diving board. That's what I'm going to do. And so when you get, because you never done it before, but then when you get to the pool and you see that big ladder and you see that deep water, right?
Yeah.
And you don't do it, right? You don't
Hmm.
follow through. So do that mean you have faith in it? That's no. It
You
has.
don't follow through, then yes, no.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So just because you made your mind up a while back, you never really made your mind up. See? So I'd be like, that's the misconception that people go through, or that happens, is that just because they make their mind, or they feel like they make their mind, or they say something, but they never follow through. And so they never allow it to become faith. And I feel like that's what's important.
Oh yeah,
How do
because
you
there's no action.
Yeah,
So
how
that,
does it transition into what you're talking about, into the belief system, where if somebody asks you what you're doing today, you're like, I'm finna go jump off the diving board. I'm going swimming. Be like, you ain't never did that before. You don't know how to swim. Like, what are you talking about? I can swim. That ain't nothing. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
To where it's harder to convince you that you can't do something. That's what I'm trying to say. How do you get to that point where it's harder to convince you that you can't do something, versus somebody putting doubt in your head? Because that's what the Bible calls it, as doubt, a
Hmm.
seed of doubt. That's what I'm talking about. And I feel like that's the biggest, people skip that part, and they don't, and that's where they struggle with things, because they don't know how to make it get to that point. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I follow. I follow.
Because a lot of people have, they have all these plans and stuff that they want to accomplish, but they don't let it get to that point. So we're talking about faith right now. We on Impact. Is Impact Live. This is my boy Chef Jimbo. This is my brother, one of my founders of Impact. I'm your boy Coach A. We are life coaches. Jim's a chef. I'm a coach. So the
Hey,
importance we
the
talking
stuff,
about.
the coaches in the works, man. We're working on that
Exactly.
now, bro.
Exactly. So leave a comment what you think about church this Sunday, Church Sunday. We want to know, is church relevant today? Did you go to church? You can give a shout out to your church. That'll let us know you went to church. How you feel about it? Is it overrated, underrated? You still going? Obviously, we gave our opinion. We feel like church is good. I'm giving some facts, um, some beliefs why church is important. We went through about three of them. Community of people. It's important to have a community of people to help you to, go through life, steer through life. Social skills, learning how to get along with those people, and not just you or your family. You're not going to always agree with your brothers and sisters. And then, of course, strengthen your belief in your faith system, what we was talking about just now, by people constantly reminding you of certain things is going to strengthen your faith. It's going to strengthen. If you take the word faith out and put positive attitude towards, that's what I want you to do. I want you to take the word faith out, because when I try to teach other people about faith, I try to make it a little simpler by saying, take the word faith out and put positive attitude towards whatever it is. And so we've been talking about, because one of the biggest, you can't have faith and fear at the same time.
No,
It's impossible,
nope.
right? It's impossible. So, essentially it's the opposite. But listen to this. You can have negative faith. How about that? I think you can use your faith negatively, right?
Break it down for me, man. Break it down for me. I kind of like the way that sound, but I'm like, let me make sure
Yes.
I'm following you though.
Yeah. Yeah, you can faith negatively. So let's say, for instance, remember, faith is your positive attitude towards something, right? That's the good faith. So you want to be, you want to accomplish something. Let's say, you want to. We talking about swimming. If you want to, jump, be a high diver or whatever it is you want to accomplish, you got to have this positive attitude towards it. So once you have your positive attitude towards it, then you're going to be drawn to it. It's going to be harder to convince you that things are not going to happen. Now, the negative portion of it is if you're always thinking about something bad that's going to happen or why this is not going to work, right? So you begin to utilize your faith, right? But instead of using it to accomplish or get what you want, you're actually using it to bring that negative thing that you don't want because you're focusing on it. Faith has no particular, it has no particular understanding of negative or positive. It just goes out in your actions and make those things happen. And so if you're focusing on the negative, then you're using your faith, right? You're focusing on it. But you're focusing on the negative, and that you're going to see those things.
Nah, I'm with it,
You look
but
quiet over
but
there, huh? Go
I- I'm
ahead.
I'm I'm with it, but you know me, I'm a very literal. I'm very literal.
Yeah.
So, but if I were to hear that necessarily, I'm just looking at it like I'm always
Hmm.
looking at stuff like you either have it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? So, like if we're already, I'm gonna use me as an example. If I'm doing something, I'm allowing myself to have these negative thoughts, but I'm
Hmm.
claiming that I have faith. Do I really have faith though?
Well, right. Well, right. I see what you're saying. No, you don't have faith in, right? You don't have
Mhm.
faith in what you want to accomplish. You're actually exercising your faith in the negative.
But why? Okay, yeah, you're exercising your faith in the negative. Okay, okay.
Faith brings, by having faith, faith brings things. It brings our actions, and then whatever's in the action, it comes back to us. You know what I'm saying? It brings
Yeah,
stuff to us. And so if you're focusing on something negative, being, getting hurt, losing something, or not, is this is never going to work out for me,
that's
or
what's
I'm
gonna
never going
come.
to make, that's what's going to come. You're using your
You're
faith
feeding that.
negatively.
You're
Yes.
feeding something instead of feeding the positive stuff. You're feeding that negative stuff. So that negative stuff is going to begin to manifest and take place in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, I follow.
Exactly. So that's one of the
Man, that's a
reasons
life
why.
principle. That's those principles you talk about and Dr. Miles Monroe.
Exactly, man. You have to. You
Yeah,
have to. That's why I always stay positive, because I don't want the negative to come. I don't. So
for
I
sure.
give it. I don't feed it. I don't focus on it. Never. But we notice in every individual there's a default, right? What's your default? Is your default negative or your default positive? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Is your default to faith or is your default to fear? Very important to understand you as an individual and where your default is. You see what I'm saying? And
yeah.
so it's kind of like that is the glass half empty or half full? How do you view it? You see? And
Yeah.
so what's you? What would you say
Me,
yours is? Yeah.
um,
I, I say you're a very optimistic person. I'm just
I
guessing.
am. I always I had some people try to speak the negativity in my life by telling me that that's a flaw in my life, but I refuse to accept that. I think it's
Hmm.
a great trait that I have is that I always look for the good in something. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that's what motivates me. That's what keeps me going. Like even like I had a conversation with somebody years ago when things in my life wasn't going too well, and they asked me like, oh well, how do you keep moving? I just look at it like I just got to make it out this storm because it ain't gonna last forever. It can
Right.
only
Yeah.
get better from here. So I always look for the positive.
Exactly. And again, that's what you're doing is exercising faith by
Yeah.
looking toward the positive, because faith ain't always the action that you take isn't always a physical action. Sometimes it's a physical thought action, meaning
Mhm.
it's a thought. What's your true thoughts towards this situation? If your true thoughts towards this situation is, I'm just going through something, but it's going to pass or whatnot, then you're exercising faith. That's a positive thought towards it. And
Yeah.
I feel like, again, that's what being in a good church group will do for you. They'll reinforce those things. If you have a real good group, they'll keep you focused on the positive, letting you know that this is temporary or, you're going to be good as well.
What's up, Nick?
What's up? Tell Nick drop his email. We can get him in too. He needs some church talk.
Nick, well, I actually got Nick email. I'll send it to you.
The link, yeah, send in the link if you want to. Send in the link.
All right, hold on.
So keeping going with some of the importance of church. How about this? Purpose.
Oh, he at work.
Purpose is important because a lot of times the average person don't always know what their purpose is, or they don't have an idea or their purpose, and that's okay. It's understandable. We're all going through this searching stage, but sometimes being a part of a church, you're connected to a greater purpose. Like the church automatically has a purpose, and that will help you by being connected to that purpose. And so purpose is one of the huge important factors in our lives because, it gives us meaning, gives our life meaning. That's why you have a lot of people that dedicate a lot of time and stuff like that to church because of that.
Yes, 100%.
You said 100%.
No, I'm saying like I agree. I'm trying to change my name. I'm trying to put the Facebook page under my name too.
The Facebook page.
Yeah, I'm just gonna on the side of my name. I'm gonna put Facebook and Impact
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
that
Yeah.
yeah. So anybody who see this, they know how to get in touch with us.
Oh yeah, definitely. So again, welcome to Impact Live. It's your boy Coach A. I got Chef Jimbo here. We talking about church. Did you go to church today? Is church important to you? Leave a message. Let us know what you feel about church nowadays. I think church is, again, very important because it creates a community, that can a community of support, you know, a community of support, people you can, go to when times is rough, or, even learning things. So we was highlighting stuff about prayer and religion. So Jimmy, I've heard religion was bad, man. Have you ever heard that aspect?
Oh man, Kurt Franklin made a whole album about it, man.
So what? So is there a difference between religion and God?
Man, that is a it's like one of them things. It's a tricky question, but it's not. Um, me see, okay. Me, I would say I think religion is one of those things where you have people that they follow this like they get in a routine, they follow this
Yeah.
mundane type of stuff. oh, well, you gotta walk
Yeah.
500 feet before you make a left. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make sure you do.
Yeah.
So I would
Exactly.
say that in a sense, yes, is a bad thing. But that's why, like I tell people all the time when they ask me about my faith, I'd be like, um, I used to get smart with people. They'd be like, "Oh, you're a Christian?" I'd be like, "No, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ." You know what I'm saying? Just to get smart with them because I already know what their mentality is coming out of it, saying like, they want to attack Christianity, which is not necessarily a
Hmm.
bad thing. And I tell them all the time, it's really the people who you're around is their decisions. But
Yes.
no, I think religion is a bad thing to answer your question, and me, I just call it my faith. I just call it my belief, really. And if you want to call it religion, if that's your religion, that's the choice the word that you want to choose. I don't think that's a big deal neither. You
Yeah.
know?
And I agree. I agree with you 100%. I feel like religion is bad. In fact, I've even, sometimes it's hard to say it, but I've even, you know, told people that I'm not a Christian, that
Mhm.
like you said, I'm a follower of Christ, as
Yeah,
opposed to trying to hold denounce the whole religious thing. Because I feel like religion puts up a bunch of rules. It puts up
yeah,
a bunch of rules that we have to follow, and I don't feel like that's what's being taught biblical wise initially. But however, being a part of a religion is still good. That's what's tricky, is that religion itself is bad, right? Because people
mhm.
feel like they have to measure up to these things, but having that support group is good. So how do we balance between the two? And that's the question.
Yeah.
How can I tell somebody, hey, religion is bad, but you need to be in a religion?
I would say is, but the question would really be: is this really a religion? Or is this
Right.
a title
Or
that man has put on something in order to label it and to put it in a category or a box?
yeah, exactly.
Because this is really you would probably agree, this is really like a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? This is a lifestyle that we
Hmm.
chose. This is the life that we chose to live, and by living by the instructions that God has given us, as
Right.
men and women of God, as his followers. So I would say religion is just a title that humans have put there to label something or to control it in a sense.
Hmm. Well, what about relationship? That's
Re-
important. I feel like
Relationships is
that's a good
absolutely,
substitute. I feel like that's a
yes.
good substitute from times to let people know that you
Yeah,
should have a relationship with God as opposed to a religion of God.
I love that. I love that relationship. I love that
Yeah,
because
it's
really, what you're
important.
saying is scripture. Like that's all the way back in Genesis and Exodus. That's since the beginning
Yeah,
of the time. That's all God wants. God wants a relationship with us. So what you're saying is a
yeah.
1,000% correct.
And I feel like with a relationship, you'll grow, with learning and communicating with the Heavenly Father. I feel like you grow into change, you'll change automatically, and it
Yeah,
won't be about necessarily rules and regulations. It'll be rooted in love and understanding. And so I think that that's important. So why I do the things I do. I've changed a lot. you know I've changed a lot when it comes to my perspective on religion and God, and understanding that it's just, it's not, what we've been taught, per se. Like years and years and years, I felt like we've been taught certain things that I don't even think it applies. I mean, I think it's further confusing people. I think it's
yeah.
further confusing people. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that really gets me is when people say, give it to Jesus.
Say that again.
When people say, give it to Jesus,
Uh huh. Oh, I would like to hear
that
this.
yes, that it's I feel like it confuses people. Like people need there's practical steps. always a practical application to everything. God is
Oh,
a practical God.
you're saying that
Like,
some people might take that as like, oh, God is going to do something supernatural um, regarding your specific situation instead of you working it out and you having, is that kind of like what you're saying?
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's the lines I'm going. But I think that the impact that it has is that it just confuses people because they're waiting for God to come and do something. It
Yeah,
puts people in this waiting stage like I have this problem and so I'm waiting for God to fix it.
yeah.
And I don't agree with that. I no longer agree with that. That I don't even believe, and this is gonna shock you too. This is gonna shock you. I don't. You ready? I hope you
Let's
sit
go.
down.
Let's go. Let's go.
I don't even. I don't even believe. I don't even. I no longer believe that prayer is to get God to do anything.
I don't think prayers to get God to do anything. I'm just trying to
Yes.
mentally go back to see how that lines up scripture. That's all.
Oh yeah. Yep. I don't
Because
believe
see,
that prayer.
I think I would disagree with you on that
Okay.
because
That's why I was hoping you were sitting down too.
no, that's not that bad though.
So
That's not
yeah.
that bad. I would say because there's multiple times in the scriptures where God said that I heard the cry of my people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that began it kind of like for Israel for a sense when Israel was in captivity. And before he sent Moses, he said, I heard the cry of my people, and then I remembered them. So that put God in
Yes.
action to be like, okay, let me get me a leader, Moses. Let me send him. Hey, I'm calling you to do X, Y,
Yes.
Z. But
Yes.
their cry, they were praying, they were crying,
They were
they were calling
praying.
out to
Yes,
God.
absolutely. Right. And so you feel like it's the same today. See,
I think it's this. Go ahead.
and see that's what changed me is that I came out. I feel like I realized that I'm not in the Old Testament
Okay.
because the people in the Old Testament does not have the same thing that we have, not one bit. So if they don't have the same thing we have,
And you
then
get into his
we're
spirit.
say what?
And you get into his spirit. You're
Exactly.
saying that
So
they
they
don't have
have
his.
to, yes, they have to cry out. They have to do that because they don't have the resurrection power that the Bible say, the same power that rose Jesus from the dead is inside you. So if we
But
have something inside of us that's strong and powerful that God gave us to for a reason because he cares about us, caring and loving someone is having things ready before they even need it, right?
mm-hmm,
You're already taking care of that. Just think about this. Before God put the fish and stuff in the sea, he prepared the sea, put the water
mm-hmm,
and everything. Same thing with the birds. He have it got the sky and everything ready. Then he put the birds in. Same thing with Earth. He got everything ready for man, and then he put man there. Right.
mm-hmm.
So we're the same way. He's he's given us, right, everything that we need to succeed here on earth. If I've already given you something, why do you keep asking me to give you something else? Like what more do you want? So you telling me what I gave you is not enough. That's what you're saying. Like I gave you the resurrection power, I placed it inside you, but you don't think it's enough. So you want me to give you more.
Okay. Now, so what you're saying, I agree. I do believe that every God has given us everything that we need. We have to cultivate it. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I do agree with you on that. But and I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you're saying that prayer isn't important. That's not what I'm
No,
saying.
I never said prayer wasn't important.
I know,
I know, I
I know you
understand
didn't
that, and
say
I
that.
didn't say that prayer wasn't important. Yeah.
Yeah, but how I'm gonna say it, I just don't want you to think that's what I'm
Oh
thinking
yeah,
that you
yeah,
said.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, but I would say this. I still think prayer is very important because how I look at prayer is exactly like what you and me are doing. But you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But take if I take you out and I put God there, we're having this dialogue, but I'm actually giving him a chance to speak too. You know what I'm saying? And I think
Yeah.
that's developing that relationship where you both can have a conversation. You both have the doors open for to hear from each other. And for instance, like I still think it's important. I still think it's something that's very needed. I don't think that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people look at prayer in that manner. Like it's just as simple as a conversation between you and God, but it's a two-way street. You know?
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think that people look at prayer as this is how I need to something need to change. This is
Yeah,
something
this is
need to
what I
change.
want.
So yes, and so I need to pray to God so that these things change. If I don't have enough food coming, I need to pray to God that I get some food. Or if I need some more money, I need to pray to God that I get more money, or whatever the situation is. And so I do agree with you when it's communicating with God, and God does speak. He'll speak, but he's going to give you ideas. He's not, I don't believe that prayer is for God to come down and miraculously change the situation. And I feel like that's where we become, where people are miracle chasing, right? We become miracle chasers. And in the Bible, that was, that was frowned upon.
Now, I think there's a thin line too that when we do pray, not to just make it to like what you're talking about, where people are just, God, I need this, I need this, I need this. Because
Hmm.
even Jesus himself said that God knows what you
Before you even
need before
ask.
you
Yeah.
even ask.
Yeah.
So and I'm saying this because I think of like I'm in my great grandmother's room right now, and
Hmm.
I always remember her like all she used to do was pray. And I always, every time she prayed, I never heard this woman pray for something that she needed. I always constantly heard her praying for other people. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think that's another perspective of prayer too. It's I'm praying for my mankind and God. If I can't help somebody, I know that you could provide somebody or a resource for someone else. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep.
It's for others. Basically, is what I'm saying. Is what I
Yes.
picked up from my great grandmother, and you know her. You know what kind of woman she was.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah. And I agree with that. It's always we're praying for somebody else. We should always be praying for somebody else. One of the major things that I believe prayer is for, and again, it's just my perspective. It's not, it doesn't, my perspective is not biblical truth or any of those things. It's just what I've learned and how God has dealt with me when it comes to these things. And so when it comes to prayer, prayer keeps me in the proper perspective in the whole world. It keeps me humble. It keeps you in the proper perspective. And so I'll give you an example what that means. So if I needed something to happen, or maybe I, needed to help somebody, or whatever situation is, and I begin to pray to God, instantly that puts me in a humble right state, because I put everybody in place. When I start to pray, I put God where he belongs, which is over me as the Lord, right? Because otherwise I wouldn't pray to him. See what I'm saying? So my heart, my mind instantly puts God where he's supposed to be, just by praying. Just by praying to God, you automatically do that. Just by praying, you automatically place God as the king, or the problem solver, or father, whatever it is. You understand what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
I follow.
Right. Automatically do that. Then, so by that happening, so now I can develop the idea. Once I have God in the right place, now I can use the power that's inside of me that he gave me. Remember that resurrection power?
Hmm.
and that
Yeah.
resurrection power. And to me, that resurrection power starts with perspective, is your perspective. That's what it is. You begin to change your perspective on whatever that situation is. And you also get ideas as well. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
those ideas come from God as well, because he's the, creator. He's the only person that creates something from nothing. And so I don't feel like he's going to conjure up something, so to speak. It's gonna work through people. He works through people.
Yes.
And so that's where I'm, my whole perspective when it comes to praying and how I view it. And so, what you think about that?
No, I agree with that, and I've had many conversations where I tell like they try to down Christianity, but I tell them I'm like what other God you know that says like even though I'm the creator of everything, but I want to work through you. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? I want you to create just like I create. You know, the
Exactly.
same thing that I am and I have, I want you to be the exact same thing that I am. I said, what
Exactly.
other gods you know? I don't know no other God. You know, maybe somebody to help
Exactly.
me out.
Yeah, exactly. And give us that power and give us
Yeah,
that power. See, most people, again, I'm just, it seems like most people want the power to be this magical, as soon as you mention something, it changes, it's like, again, miracle chasing, like, you know, come down here. God is going to do a miracle today. He's going to do a miracle today.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so obviously I believe that God can do a miracle. He can do whatever he want to do, right?
Hmm.
But that's not how my faith is. My faith is focused on the positive attitude towards the situation. So obviously, if you have a attitude towards you're going to get a miracle, then you might very well get one. Absolutely. But just because it doesn't happen doesn't mean that you don't have that positive attitude towards your situation. And because one person might say God moved, and did this in my life, and then the other person might say, well, I prayed and God didn't do anything in my life. So what would be our response to that? If you have, he did this for this person and that for that person. He's not he don't show favorites.
My answer to that is same thing I tell my two daughters every day. It's not a competition. Number one. Number two, I would say he didn't do what you wanted him to do properly. That's my first thing. You know,
Mhm.
like is that really something you needed, or is that
It,
something that you wanted?
yeah, but it might be because somebody might be sick and they want to be healed, right?
Okay.
And then they didn't get healed, but or their parent, their cousin or whoever it was, their parent could be sick, and and one person's parent passed away, and the other person's parent got healed, got up. So it's like, oh, God worked for this person, but he didn't work for the other person. And I
Okay,
feel
then
like I
I
feel
can't
like
answer that one. Then
well, real quick. I feel like these are questions that people have, or experiences that people have, and they have these questions, but they don't get the answer, and so
mhm.
therefore, if they don't know, then they feel like it's a gamble. Some people
Yeah,
might feel like it's a gamble. So then, what's the purpose of going to church, or what's the purpose of believing in God if He's picking and choosing this person or showing favorites?
yeah. I got you. I follow, and I'm not gonna drive nobody. But other than that, so I don't know how to answer that. Other than that,
Right. So I'm just gonna tell you my perspective on it and what I've learned when it comes to this, that God is not in the trouble. He's not in the trouble. God is inside you. He's in the get up and continue. That's where he can be found. So people are looking for God to be in the trouble, meaning you didn't fix this, or you did fix this. Thank you, God, you fixed this. Or God, why didn't you fix that? But that's not where God is. those things happen, they just happen. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how the world is. You live, you die, it rains, it sunshine, you know what I'm saying? Even the Bible tells you that it rains on the
On
just
the
and
just
the
and the
unjust.
unjust.
Right. So that's not where God is. God is inside us. And so he's in that strength, that positive attitude towards whatever situation it is. That's where God can be found. And I feel like if people understand that and they really fix their faith, right? Remember, we talked about what faith is.
Mhm.
We fix their faith on that, they'll never truly have bad situations because they'll understand.
Uh,
Because they'll
what
understand.
when you just said that, the thing that came to mind was one of my favorite preachers. About my boy Craig
Yeah. G.
and
Craig.
Craig. And you know what? I tell you what, I listen. This man preaches this day in and day out. He be like,
Yeah.
he talks to Christians all the time, and they be like, oh, they try to blame stuff on God, and he be like, well, no, like you made the choice, so
Yes.
you're just getting the consequence of the choice that you made.
Yep.
You can't blame that on God. You got to blame that on you.
Yes. I
And I
believe
think that's
that.
a problem that we run into as humans as well.
Hmm.
Bad, poor decision making, and it puts us in the predicaments that we're in a lot of times.
Right. And we blame it on the devil. Like,
And the
oh,
devil,
I'm under attack. The devil is attacking me.
the devil working.
Exactly. The devil working. Like, no, it's your ignorance that that you didn't get rid of in the past is beginning to blossom now.
Yeah.
you
And
know.
a quick story, just from what you said. Hope I ain't talking too much, but I don't talk
No,
very
I feel like
much.
I'm talking too much. You
No.
need to talk more.
Now, it's this other Messianic Judas pastor that I used to listen to a lot, and he gave a powerful message one day. Before he came to Christ, he was he was working with some guys that were scamming people out of their insurance money. And
Wow.
yeah, so when he got out of it, then he came to Christ, became a preacher, and like 20 years down the road, Adrian, 20 years down the road, no lie, this stuff caught back up with him. And his
Hmm.
church was like, oh my God, like you scamming people. He was like, listen, he said, no, I lived a certain life before I came to God.
Hmm.
And he said, this is just a perfect example of just because you live for God, you still got to face your consequences of your actions. And he said,
Yes.
these are the consequences of my actions, and I got to go to prison for it. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? And I was like, when
Yeah.
I heard that message that he gave, I was like, how many preachers you hear, tell their congregation stuff like that? Like, I lived a jacked up life, and this is the consequence of my life. But even though I'm living for Christ, I still got to suffer for those consequences. God wiped my sins away, but He didn't wipe my consequences away. I'm like, that was
Exactly.
beautiful to me. Beautiful.
It is, and I feel like that's part, and he understands. I feel like he understands, and he's gonna always have a positive attitude in every situation because he understands that it's not God's fault and it's not God's duty to rescue you. You
Yeah.
know, it's God is supposed to lead us, so that means we allow him to lead. That means he use his principles, right?
Yeah.
And to so you don't get yourself in that situation in the first place. Not only that, but whenever you're faced with something, you'll be at peace when you're going through it. So it's not like you're going through anything at all because you'll be at peace. And again, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of, because I hear people say, "Oh, I was in an accident. I was in the car that rolled over 15 times." And you remember that? I was in the car that rolled over 15 times. And God protected me, right?
Yeah.
Well, what about the other guy? The car rolled over 15 times and he died. So God didn't protect him.
You dumb. Oh boy, you son, boy.
Yeah.
But
But
that's real though. Like we only
but
think
that's
about us. You're right.
well, the point is not that we're gonna think about us. The point is our perception of God.
Perception, yeah.
Right. Like God protected me in his car that rode over 15 times. But the other guy, the car rode over 15 times and he died. So does that mean God didn't protect him? And see, that's what I'm saying. God is not in the accident protecting you 15 times. The reason you ain't died 15 times is exactly what the doctor told you. Either you was lucky or you was in seatbelt, or you know what I'm saying. It didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
But now but now you have to face life again. You might have lost a car, you don't have a job or whatever. That's where the power of God is in your get up and to continue with what you're going through. That's where God is, because remember, God even tell you, he was like, we used to always read that footprints in the sand.
Hmm.
We was like, well, when, before there was always two sets of footprints, but then when I was in trouble or the worst times of my life, I only saw one, right? And that's where God speaks and said, that's because I was carrying you through that. You see what I'm saying? So he wasn't, the reason it wasn't two footprints during the trouble, and he was protecting you from the car that rode over 15 times.
Yeah.
No, he was carrying you, making sure that you made it through whatever it is you have to go through or whatever it is you have to face. And so I feel like a lot of people miss that. And if a lot of people understood that, then they will look at their problems, they will look at different situations differently with a more positive attitude towards it. And I feel like that's important to do, you know.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Hey, we was talking today about Adam and Eve, about in the garden,
What are you talking about?
and
You on Canaan?
yeah, and about how
I
you
can't wait to
know
hear this.
yeah. Well, I mean, we agree. I mean, obviously, we agree that
Oh, okay, okay.
with the uh it being Adam's fault, because he was placed, that we in this mess, because he was there, he was put here first, and he was given the instructions, and so he was supposed to relay the information, and he didn't, you know, refuse to take the apple, right? So, but some of the questions that came up in our discussion was that, so do you believe, because the snake was always there, right?
Hmm.
The snake was always
Yeah,
there.
always.
And so another thing I'm gonna tell you too, another thing that I'm gonna tell you about me, and so is that I don't believe that we're supposed to take everything in the Bible literally. You see what I'm saying? As
Yeah, God
a
speaks in metaphors
right,
a lot of
as
times.
a literal, right, as opposed to as a literal story that happens. I believe that the Bible, sometimes we're supposed to take it, like you said, as a metaphor, where some people take it as an actual event.
But that goes into a lot of people don't know anything about Jewish or Hebrew writing as well. Like when
Right,
they write
right,
stories, they write a lot of stuff in metaphors, so you
right,
can't take everything literal. You got to get the meaning of the story that they're trying to tell.
right.
Yeah.
So keeping on, we talked about this. So the question was, and I didn't even say nothing. This gave me a revelation today. So the question was, what do the was the snake was always there,
Hmm.
right? So think about that. If the snake represents the negative portion, right? The negative side, and God represents the positive side. So that means there's always been a snake. There's always a negative side to every decision since the beginning of time. And so the other question was, do you think that the snake spoke to them audibly, or if did they speak to them in their head?
The snake, I think the snake spoke to them in the head, just like the adversary does today. I don't think he changes. I think he has the same tactics, and he makes you think that it's your own thoughts. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? That's what I believe.
Yeah, I believe that too. I believe that it was in their head, that he spoke to them in the head.
Yeah.
as opposed to audibly, hey, take this apple, lady.
Yeah, and I believe he was here before us. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure, for
yeah.
sure. But one of the things that I read, I can't remember the name of this book that I read, but it was talking about that, and they made a reference to the Bible and the scripture that talk about Satan. It called it Satan, it says the devil, our adversary, roams around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may destroy.
Hmm.
Right, and so the book broke it down as adversary as being our adverse thought. That essentially is our devil. It's not this outside force that's trying to get us. It's our own adverse thought whenever we pick opposite of what the truth is, or what the scripture tells us. The truth, positive, opposite of love. It's all the opposite factors of love. If you're showing the opposite of love, opposite of patience, opposite of being kind, when you choose those things. And
I
so
go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so what that did to me again, it took pressure off of me thinking God is supposed to change me, right? It shows me that he already given me enough, right? With his son dying, he already given me enough. I have the power inside me. And so it validates some of the other scriptures that say that battle is, in our head, as opposed to, it's not a physical battle, it's a mental battle. Understanding that. So it lets me know that the only way the devil has authority, or the enemy has authority, is when we give it to him, by giving him that choice, by choosing that portion.
I, hey, when you right, you right. And but even Jesus himself said that when the Holy Spirit, when the Spirit of God comes, he said he'll be your conscience. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I still think I still and I had someone ask me this question too. They said, "Well, Jimmy, do you think God speaks to people that don't believe in him?" I said, "Absolutely,"
Mhm.
because I think His Spirit is exactly what Jesus said, our conscience. And what you said, I think it kind of like puts one thing and another together.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that
Yep.
puts everything right there together. And I absolutely, I agree with you 100%, man. And it makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. I don't know no other way to put that.
Yeah, yeah. But you said a huge point when you started talking about the conscious. And so that was one of the things that was released in the garden, was the conscious. They started they started being convicted by their own conscience. Think about that. The first thing they did was they thought they was naked,
Hmm.
and they needed to get some clothes, or they sewed some fig leaves and stuff around them because they thought they was naked, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so why would you think that you're naked? That's how God created you. God never said that you needed anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He never said that you needed anything else. And in fact, that was the first thing that God referenced to as well. The first thing that he referenced to, he said, who, because he called to him, and it was like, we had to put these
Told you
suits
you were
on, we
naked.
was naked. And he said, who told you you was naked? Yeah. He said, who told you you was naked? You can sit down if you want to. Oh my God, she don't want to sit down. Look, look at this. Hey, I'm on national TV, man. But she told you. I said she. But yeah, he said, you. Who told you you was naked? Huge.
Yeah.
So so
Mm.
watch this. So then I've learned, right. So understanding that our convictions, our we convict ourselves with, just like you said, with our conscience.
Oh, you know what? Now that you say that,
Yes.
Jesus did say that he didn't come to condemn.
No.
He didn't come to condemn. He said, so loosen yourself of that mess. Stop
Yes.
beating yourself up.
Yes. For
You
making
know,
oh my goodness. Boy,
man,
you
man,
finna
look
get
at
it.
this, man.
Listen, and that's exactly where I was going, because in Hebrews, right? In
Uh,
Hebrews, Paul talked about Jesus um, saving us from our conscience,
mhm.
meaning we're not even supposed to pay attention to our conscience, as opposed to being convicted by it. Like if we make a mistake, we're not supposed to. We're just supposed to, we ask for forgiveness, say we're sorry, dress it up, whatever, and we're supposed to keep moving as if
And
it never happened.
God said when He forgives us, He throws into the sea of
Yeah,
forgetfulness.
exactly. But that's the problem, is us.
We
The
don't.
problem is our conscience.
Yep.
And so watch this. I'm going to tie it even more. And so why is that important? Huh? Because when your conscience begins to convict you, it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. It makes you
Yep.
feel like you're not
You're
right
not
with God.
worthy.
Right. And so within that feeling, God told us in his word also is that you cannot come to me without confidence.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
come to him without confidence, then you're coming to him without faith, and there's nothing he can do for you, big bruh. I'm sorry.
Just
You
yeah, yeah. Cause Peter sure did have a lot of faith when he
you
stepped
have
out of
to.
that boat, boy.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
had tons of faith. He had all the faith in the world.
Yeah.
And then once he saw that, like, oh shoot, I'm doing it, then he began to sink.
Yeah, he began to sink. Yeah. So
But
that's
no, I get you on that. I like that. I like that. I like how you put that together, young man.
so when you so when you let that sink in, when you begin to operate like that, then you begin to hold on to your faith in every situation. If you curse somebody out right after that, you should, you do what you're supposed to do. You say, oh, I'm sorry, or you apologize, whatever you have to do. You have to make your relationships right. Right, even the
But
Bible tell you that.
that all of this goes right back to what we were talking about earlier, religion. Like people made up these things. Like, oh well, if you
Yeah,
do this, you do that. Oh, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, that's what
people
I'm
made
talking about.
the weigh you down to, and I say
Yes.
people, but even though our conscious, the adversary, he put the stuff in your head,
Yeah.
and you accepted it, and you put it
Yeah.
out there. But you get where I'm going. You
But
get
it's
where I'm
yeah,
going.
but you're right. But yeah, ultimately it's not take it back. It's not people, it's our conscience.
Yeah.
It's our conscience. So we have to live above our conscience. And that's hard to do. And this was something I just said today. I'm like, people a person can't tell you that you're wrong. They can't, you know what I'm saying? They can't make you feel bad. The only way you can feel bad or you can feel wrong is by your conscience.
Mhm.
You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? Just because somebody, you read something that say, hey, you're supposed to jump twice and roll over, you didn't jump twice and roll over, you're bad.
Mhm.
Right? So you would read that, and so the instantly your conscience would tell you that you're bad,
Yeah.
right? It would
Mhm.
agree, it would come into agreement with what they said. But that's not how it's supposed to work. Your conscience is supposed to be in agreement, obviously, with the word. So you don't have to worry about not lining up with that. And that's one of the drawbacks of religion, is sometimes that they create this environment where people have to live up to certain things by the way they dress, the way they look, the way they talk, right?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff like that. Even the music, like I even taken back a lot of my perspective on the music that people listen to. I feel like, obviously the music is an influence. And
Yes, it
so
is.
if you listen to, it's not going to take you to hell. It's not going to, it shouldn't condemn you. You're not going to be condemned for listening to certain things, but however, it's not going to be beneficial.
Mhm.
If you have a seed and you want the seed to grow into a tree, right? You ain't gonna put it in the pot and pour Coke on it, right? Coca
Yeah,
Cola
yep, that's right.
or Sprite, or you're gonna have water and stuff like that. So I feel like that's the same thing with us. Like, we have to be cautious of whatever our goal is. We have to surround ourselves around the right nourishment to get there. So
Agreed. Yes, sir.
that's
Agreed.
huge. Talked about that conscious, man, and a
Yeah,
lot of people
man,
don't.
you can have another show on this, boy. Man, nah, like this. That's real right there. That's real. I like that. I like that.
So let's talk about fear, man. Since we on this type of subject, let's talk about fear.
Yes, sir. Mm.
I feel like, obviously, when we talk about faith, I feel like everything is activated by faith, right? It's
Mhm.
activated. Every action is activated by faith, because you have it, you do it. You believe, because you believe it, you do it. So fear is the opposite, right?
Mhm.
Every hesitation is a result of fear. How do you deal with that?
How do you deal with it? I think you got to push those thoughts back. And when I say that, I mean I'm a firm believer that those thoughts are always that fear and fearful thoughts are always gonna try to creep their way in, but
Hmm.
you can't allow it. You can't allow it to give it. You can't allow those thoughts to get a foothold. You can't allow it to occupy space in your mind or in your life. You gotta push it back and just like that, keep moving forward. Like, okay, what's the next step that I need to do to defeat this? You know what I'm saying?
Are you able to elaborate on pushing it back? So one thing I like to do is I like to give practical steps
Okay.
so that somebody can actually, this is something somebody can actually put to use immediately. It's not nothing that, like, what they would do, like if they have a certain thought of fear right now, what would you do? How do you
Like,
push it? How do you push it back? It's a
in a
tough
sense,
question.
you gotta drop. Yeah, yeah, I know. In a sense, okay. I'm trying to think of an example for me.
Hmm.
I have one example that I don't want to disclose that one right now because I'm still in the works with some stuff. Um,
Yeah.
okay, I would say this. I would say this. Right now, I work for the county, and the kid.
Let me help you with
Yeah.
this. You have a goal, right,
Yes.
of having a food truck or restaurant,
Yes.
right? So
Both.
that's right, right. So that's your end goal,
Hmm.
right? So how do you deal with the thoughts or the fears of it's not gonna happen, or do you, because I know at some point in the beginning you might have had this, like,
Oh yes, of
doubt,
course.
right? So how did you do? Now you should be past. Now when you operate, I don't hear it no more. I don't see it. It's automatic. All I get is all these recipes and these bougie recipes and stuff, which is good. Which is good. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you now have a positive attitude towards, right?
Yes. Yes.
Every time you think about that, you have a positive attitude towards it. So in the beginning, what would you say helped as far as the fear of not, of this might, I might can't do this, or I don't have enough money to do this, or you know what I'm saying? That's
Um,
along those lines.
what helped me, and because now I'm in the process of trying to set some of those things up.
Yeah.
But But even though what helped me get past that, I would say is what helps me drown it out is on a day-to-day basis. I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly feeding myself on trying to come up with recipes, constantly
Yes.
feeding myself with testing recipes. I'm
Yes.
constantly feeding myself with, while I'm driving around for work or just driving around personal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at buildings. I found another building the other day. I meant to send it to you and I forgot. And
Yeah.
and like I'm like I just got finished talking to my dad when you came by, when you came over to the house. He was telling me about another food truck that he saw that he think I can get for a cheap price. I just got to do fit some stuff up on.
Yeah.
But to me it's exactly what I said before. I think it's you got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And to me, by me continually gaining knowledge, and I went
Mm-hmm.
working at another job, gaining knowledge from them, you
Yeah.
know, who knows? I might have to go and get me another cooking job to gain more knowledge
Mm-hmm.
from them. And to me, that's just me taking that step forward and growing to continue to be comfortable and to continue through that. You're drowning out that fear because I'm
So,
putting things in place to get to
yeah.
that goal.
So ultimately, what you're saying, just to try to peel it back and make it a little simpler, is
Okay.
that you are doing, I will call it a replacement method. So instead of entertaining any type of negative thoughts, they've been replaced. Or if any
Yes.
of them, because you might talk to somebody that might try to drop a negative accidentally, you
Mm-hmm.
know, accidentally you might just telling somebody, what you're doing, what you're working on, and or you might just hear somebody talking and hear their failure in that business, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're replacing it with um the positive information, positive thoughts, so
Yes,
that
that's what I'm doing.
exactly. So yeah, which is the best method. That's the biblical method. The Bible tells us to take captive every thought,
Every
right?
thought. Yeah.
And then we're supposed to line it up.
And to
you
be
know
honest with you, if I could be completely vulnerable, those thoughts do try to creep in. But just like I say, like I know, I tell myself every day, like this is something my mom instilled in me, and I got away from it until recently.
hmm
She used to have me look in the mirror every day and tell myself that I was smart, that I'm gonna
yes,
succeed, and that affirmation. I do that to
yes,
myself on my way going to work every day. Like today's gonna be an amazing day.
yeah.
Everything's gonna go good. No matter if I run into a stumbling block, I'm gonna figure out a way around that to get that out the
Yeah.
way. And the day, you know what I'm saying? I still do it
Yeah,
as a grown man,
absolutely.
and I teach my
Yeah.
daughters that. So
Yes. That's amazing. And that's the foundation of being a Christian. That's the foundation, is that you focus on the positive, and because God has given you that. He's
mhm,
given you that power to overcome any obstacle that comes your way. And so that's
yeah,
essentially what you're doing. And that's just how we're created. I mean, I think that's awesome that you do that. That's the same thing I do every day. you know I just continue to tell myself. And so what happens is, if you keep doing that, it's going to get to a point where you don't have to. It's just an automatic thought. It's automatic, where
yeah,
you don't have to continue to say it. But I mean, not that you don't have to continue to say it, is that you automatically do it. You don't have, like, if a roadblock comes, you won't have to tell yourself, oh, you know what, this is just a roadblock, or I can do this. No, you'll automatically kick into that gear and to do it. So yeah.
Now,
And I
go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Hey, I got a question when we were talking about the roadblocks. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with somebody. I want to get your perspective on it. I had a
Yeah.
conversation with somebody, and they were talking about problems and things. And I was telling them,
Yes.
like, I'm at a place in my life where I cannot honestly say that I really believe in problems.
Yes.
I said, to me, a problem is life and death. I say this stuff that we go through every day in life, that's not a problem. You know what I'm saying? So what is your perspective on that?
Well, I got a question for you. Why
Yeah.
is life and death a problem?
Because you're
You
if
you
you're
trying to
dead,
hold on. You're trying to hold on to something it was built into us automatically.
Like,
Death is built. Death is
oh,
death.
okay.
Death was built into us automatically,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so, because of that,
Is it
we
gonna happen?
shouldn't fear it. And remember, you can't have faith and fear at the same time. And so, what that means is that people think it's situational. And I'm going to get back to your question. People think it's situational, right? I can have fear. I could be scared of these bees, or I could be scared of the dog, or I could be scared of this, or I could be scared of that. But over here, I have faith. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. If you have it in there, you have it in there, and it can very well surface at whenever it wants to.
Hmm.
So we have to be fully confident, right, and use wisdom. So to answer your question, no, I agree with you. I don't. I don't believe in problems either. I believe in knowledge and understanding, and working on things until they become what we want them to become. So it's all perspective. If you believe and say that there's a problem, then you're gonna have a problem that you have to solve. But if you feel like this is just an educational thing that you need to learn, and then it's gonna have a positive outlook. You're gonna have a positive perspective on it.
Yeah.
So I agree. Because people pick up these habits that if it's hard or if it's a problem, God's telling me no. Listen. I remember when I was we was in class, and I heard that message when God tells me no. You
What
remember
class was
that?
this?
The Bible study.
No, I can't say I remember that, bro.
Yeah, it was Tiona.
Oh yes, I remember. That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I did not agree with that. It was burning me up all day
Oh, you
when
did?
God. Yeah, because I don't believe God tells us no. I don't believe that. I don't believe He tells us no. He's not.
Was
He's
she wasn't really saying no? She was saying not right now.
right.
That was her real thing. Yeah.
Hmm. So, but I mean, but that's just my. I just believe that whatever roadblock it is just something that we have to learn. You know,
Hmm.
to get around it. If we going to take a flight, to Vegas to cook for somebody, or be hanging out, you
Yes, sir.
know, with somebody, so that even to the point where we have to black out the screen because we don't want you to see what's around us. So when we
They
do
got
that,
jokes.
so when we take our trip, when you take a trip, if you on your way to the airport and you see there's a roadblock, right, on 75, or you don't cancel the trip,
So
right?
don't.
You
Nope.
just figure it out for
Yes,
sure.
sir.
And that's important that we learn how to figure these things out. But it's all perspective. It always go back to perspective.
For
It
sure.
always go back to perspective. Couple other things I got on here. I already talked to you about that. So listen to this. I got this out of a book. It says, before your prayer can reach God, it must be transformed from its original thought vibration into terms of spiritual vibration. It has to, before your prayers can reach God, it has to be transformed. Essentially, it has to come from your subconscious
Okay.
or your spirit, or your spiritual person. Not necessarily the subconscious. It has to come from the spiritual person.
Oh yes, because really, our spirit man communicates. It's our
Exactly.
spirit man communicating with God. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, through His spirit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
You
a
are
lot
not
of
telling a lie.
so a lot of people, a lot of people may just still be communicating mentally, right?
Mhm.
Consciously, as opposed to spiritually.
Yeah, and yeah, yes, that's a lot of truth. Yeah, that's a good point to point out and to think about that all of us need to think about really. 'Cause he say, "Yeah, to worship me and to worship His in spirit and truth." And our spirit communicates with His spirit, which in turns communicates to Him. I like that. I like that. That's one of those other things like it's deep, but it's not deep. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah, I like that
So, all
because it
right,
still
man.
lines up with the word. So
Of
yes,
course.
yes, it lines up.
So, all right, man. What time is it? It's time to go. We missing out on LeBron James, man. We gonna watch
LeBron
LeBron
James.
James.
Oh, of course, LeBron gonna whoop up on somebody, child.
Exactly. He said it was somebody's child.
Hey, as long as it ain't Kwame Brown, I'm good, man. Leave that brother alone.
My goodness, he's still going off, ain't
He's
he?
still going on.
Did you hear about that before I sent it to you, or before I
Uh,
mentioned it?
I knew he was going off on people, but I didn't hear him go off on the LeBron one that you sent. No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that one was actually I like that one. That one was pretty good. The rest
Yeah.
has just been a lot of hate. Feel like you know how it is. But anyhow, I couldn't help it. That was like I've been addicted to it. Addicted to it.
Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
man. Well,
thank
I
you for having me
appreciate you.
on, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you jumping on. What you talking about? This is Impact, Impact
Yeah.
Live. We said we was gonna do it, so we talked about today. We was talking about church. Church is one of the biggest impacts in a person's life. When it comes to teaching them different values and confidence and faith and stuff like that. And I feel like it's important to be connected with a church group or a family of people that you can continue to grow with. They can teach you how to grow and and different social skills and increase your faith and all those things, help you with your purpose, all those things. You get a lot. So don't completely dismiss the fact that church is there, or dismiss the benefits. I'm sorry. Don't completely dismiss the benefits from church. I've talked to several people about church, and I feel like the way they went wrong was not having a church, because they have kids that was growing up. And so if you don't put your kids around other kids that, can help be a positive influence on them, then you run the risk of your kids going to awry or hanging out with, kids that's not positive. And so I feel like that's an aspect that church helps with. I know they always say that, people in church is worse here and worse there. I haven't seen it, honestly. I don't think that the people in church are as bad. They're trying. They're not perfect, but they are trying to get it right. And it's better to be around people that's trying to get it right versus people that think they know it all or they think they're right as it is. So that's my take on church. My name is Coach A. We got Chef Jimbo. Jimbo, you want to say anything else, bro?
Hey man, just look out for Chef Jimbo, man. Big things coming. Big things coming.
That's right. We got big faith popping,
Yes,
little
sir.
faith stopping.
Stop. All right. I ain't gonna call you his nickname. Not on here.
All right, man. Later.
All right, everybody.